Let me take you back to the beginning, to the time when Prophet Yusuf was born. Even as a child, he was destined to be a prophet. While other children his age were running around, playing, eating, and sleeping, Yusuf was the only one who had a dream, a vision. In his dream, he saw the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowing to him. Despite being thrown into a deep well in a remote desert, far from people and life, Allah saved him and brought him out alive. Even though he was sold as a mere slave in the markets, Allah protected him from slavery and elevated his status, making him the keeper of the treasures of Egypt, governing as he pleased. This is the same Yusuf who was saved from the deception of women and the temptation of sin. Despite his young age, how did Yusuf manage to rule a large country like Egypt and protect the surrounding regions from the famine that struck the entire area? Moving away from Yusuf himself, what about the injustice faced by his brother? Even to this day, whenever Yusuf's story is told, his brother's experience remains a part of it. Were Yusuf's brothers truly cruel and hateful, or have we misunderstood the details of the story? And perhaps the most pressing question of all, what about the accusations leveled against Prophet Yusuf of theft during his childhood? Once, he was accused of stealing a golden idol, and the second time, his own aunt, the sister of his father, accused him of stealing. Did Prophet Yusuf really steal from his aunt? And if so, why would his aunt make such an accusation? Let me tell you, these are the critical questions. Let's start answering them. Yusuf's story begins with the dream he saw as a child, a dream that stayed with him throughout his life until it came true. He dreamt of 11 stars, along with the sun and the moon, bowing to him. "Oh, my father, indeed I have seen in a dream 11 stars and the sun and the moon. I saw them prostrating to me." Although the dream was a joyous and beautiful vision, and its interpretation was easy for a prophet like Yusuf, Prophet Yusuf concealed his happiness and advised Yusuf, "Do not relate your vision to your brothers, or they will contrive against you." "Why, my father?" Yusuf asked. Yusuf explained, "So no one becomes jealous or hateful towards you." Here lies an often overlooked detail. Prophet Yusuf, when warning his son about his brother's jealousy, also pointed out that Satan is a clear enemy to man. He explained that the problem would stem not from his brothers themselves, but from Satan's whispers to them. This is something we all face in our daily lives, Satan's whispers. The key is not to succumb to them. But what was the issue here? The problem arose when Yusuf's brothers gave in to Satan's whispers and decided to get rid of their brother, even without knowing the details of his vision. Here lies a lesson. Prophet Yusuf, as caution about hiding the vision from Yusuf's brothers didn't prevent destiny from unfolding. So, what is caution truly for? It can protect you from harm, as in do not throw yourselves into destruction. For example, you shouldn't throw yourself off a cliff and say, "In the name of Allah, He will save me." You shouldn't jump into the sea and say, "In the name of Allah, He will rescue me." Or drink poison and say, "In the name of Allah, He will cure me." Allah Himself never commanded such actions. Allah said, "Do not throw yourselves into destruction," which means avoiding the causes of harm. So, while destiny unfolded Yusuf's brothers throwing him into the well, Yusuf's precaution and concealment of the dream's details might have spared Yusuf from a worse crime, like murder, protecting him from greater harm. And Yusuf's understanding that the problem lay in Satan's whispers, not in his brothers themselves, influenced the events that followed. You might wonder about Yusuf's brothers. Why did they feel that their father loved Yusuf more than them, despite being adults compared to their young brother? You may think, how could Prophet Yusuf, a prophet and the son of prophets Isaac and Abraham, possibly be unjust in his treatment of his children? You're right. But there's a small detail that's often missed. Yusuf's 11 brothers included 10 who were from a different mother. This difference might explain their feelings and jealousy. The 11th brother, Benjamin, was Yusuf's full brother, sharing both the same father and mother. Although Yusuf's other brothers came from different mothers, Prophet Yusuf, with his prophetic qualities, never treated them differently. He was just in his treatment of all his sons. But why did Yusuf's brothers hate him? Here's why. Treatment is one thing, but degrees of love are another. You can treat all your children equally, care for them equally, feed them the same food, give them the same drink, and organize their sleep schedules in the same way. But your heart may find comfort with one of them more than others. Your soul might feel more connected to one of them. Remember the story of Prophet Muhammad's mother, when we spoke about how his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, had 10 sons, but his heart was most attached to the youngest, Abdullah, Prophet Muhammad's father. Abdul Muttalib loved all his sons, but his heart leaned a little more toward Abdullah. Similarly, Prophet Yusuf's additional affection toward Yusuf was felt by his brothers. They sensed that their father's heart was inclined toward Yusuf. But dear one, even if your father's heart is attached to your younger brother, was your father ever neglectful of you? The answer is no. Did he favor your brother in his treatment? The answer is no. Did he give Yusuf an extra drumstick at dinner? Again, no. So, why were the brothers upset with him? Here comes Satan's whispers. Satan knew that Yusuf was special in the sight of Allah. He aimed to harm him through his brothers. Satan magnified their perception of their father's love for Yusuf, even though that love wasn't harming them in any way. But Satan made them believe that their lives would have been better if Yusuf didn't exist. If Yusuf weren't there, their father's love would be exclusively for them. So, how to get rid of Yusuf? Satan suggested killing him. He whispered that if they killed Yusuf, their lives would turn into paradise. Their father would focus on them instead of Yusuf, love them instead of being attached to Yusuf. But how could they eliminate him? One suggested taking Yusuf to the desert under the guise of play and killing him there. Another said, no, instead of killing him and bearing the sin, let's leave him in the desert to die on his own. Let the wolves eat him, let him die of thirst or hunger. The important thing was that he would die without them directly, causing his death. A third brother, whose heart was against harming Yusuf, suggested an alternative. He said, why don't we place him in a well on the caravan route? A passing caravan might find him and take him away. This way, they wouldn't kill him, but they would still be rid of him. For them, this seemed like the best compromise. They could get rid of Yusuf without bearing the sin of his death. But they faced another major challenge: how to convince their father, Prophet Yusuf, to let Yusuf go with them to the desert. Yusuf was deeply resistant to this idea, having felt the potential for betrayal from them. This time they pleaded with him, saying, why don't you trust us with Yusuf? Why don't you let him play and have fun with us? They assured him, O father, why do you not entrust Yusuf to us while we are his well-wishers? Send him with us tomorrow to enjoy and play, and indeed, we will take care of him. Yusuf responded, I fear that if I leave Yusuf alone for even a moment, a wolf might attack and eat him. Keep in mind, Yusuf was still a young child at this time, barely running and playing. A wolf could truly harm him in just a few minutes. But his sons tried to reassure him, saying, if a wolf eats him while we are a united group, then indeed we would be losers. How could a wolf possibly harm Yusuf while he was surrounded by them? Yusuf, with his faith and certainty in Allah, understood that no matter how cautious he was, he couldn't prevent Allah's destiny. Even if his son was in his arms, he couldn't stop Allah's will. He entrusted Yusuf to Allah with certainty that Allah wouldn't forsake him, that Allah would protect and return his son safe and sound. So, Yusuf's brothers took him along to play in the desert. Playing, at that time, could involve racing, horseback riding, or archery, depending on one's age and skills. But the surprise Yusuf faced was in his brothers' treatment of him. They were kind and caring in front of their father, but once they were alone with him in the desert, they treated him harshly, cruelly, and violently. When they reached the well, they stripped off his shirt and threw him into the dark, shadowy depths. A young child, barely old enough to play, left helpless in the well, surrounded by darkness during the day. Imagine how much darker it was at night. The inside of the well was terrifying. After throwing Yusuf into it, his brothers hunted an animal from the desert and drenched Yusuf's shirt in its blood. They then returned to their father. This was their biggest mistake, because they forgot to tear the shirt. If they claimed a wolf had attacked Yusuf and bitten through his flesh, shouldn't the wolf's teeth have shredded the shirt before reaching the flesh? Yet there it was, a perfectly intact shirt covered in blood. This was the same question Prophet Yaqub asked his sons, and they brought upon his shirt false blood. He said, "Rather, your souls have enticed you to something. So patience is most fitting. And Allah is the one sought for help against that which you describe." The details were clear without further explanation. First, the shirt was intact, not torn by wolf's teeth, and second, his brothers didn't even bother to invent an original story. They simply executed the exact scenario their father had feared. Yaqub had explicitly told them he worried a wolf might eat Yusuf if he sent him along, yet they claimed a wolf ate him. Their lack of creativity only heightened the absurdity of their story. Meanwhile, Yusuf, a young child, was still in the pitch-black depths of the well. He was cold, naked, and utterly terrified. A small child abandoned in a well in the heart of the desert. We worry about letting our children play outside, yet Yusuf was left alone in such dire circumstances. But Allah's will intervened, causing a caravan to change direction and arrive at the very well where Yusuf had been thrown. Some narrations suggest the caravan got lost, while others say the well was located on the caravan route. Either way, Allah willed that the caravan pass by shortly after Yusuf was thrown into the well. He wasn't left alone for long. Before the caravan arrived, Allah comforted Yusuf through divine revelation, saying, "And we inspired to him, you will surely inform them someday about this affair of theirs while they do not perceive." This revelation reassured Yusuf, promising that he would one day remind his brothers of their actions. Though Yusuf didn't understand how it would happen, he felt Allah's reassurance. He knew Allah was with him. When the caravan stopped at the well for water, they were shocked to discover a young child inside, a valuable find. At that time, finding a child was akin to finding money, as children could be sold in slave markets for profit. The caravan quickly took Yusuf and left without resting as they had planned, fearing that someone from his family might come searching for him. If found, they would lose the opportunity to sell him. They traveled to Egypt, and upon arrival, offered Yusuf for sale in the slave market. Yusuf, with his extraordinary beauty and charm, attracted immediate attention. Among the bidders was a prominent official in Egypt known as Al-Aziz. In those days, Egyptian officials were named with titles such as the Just, the Ruler, or the Mighty Al-Aziz. Some narrations suggest Al-Aziz was the prime minister, a position of great power. Al-Aziz's heart became attached to Yusuf upon seeing him in the slave market. Despite Yusuf's exceptional beauty and potential, the caravan sold him for a meager price. Why did they sell him cheaply? First, because they didn't realize they were selling a prophet, the son of a prophet. Second, and more importantly, when people find something, they don't price it appropriately. If they delay selling to assess its value, its rightful owner might appear, causing them to lose it entirely. So, they sold Yusuf hastily to avoid losing him. There's wisdom here worth noting. If you examine the ease with which Yusuf was sold, the caravan's quick journey to Egypt, the brothers' effortless disposal of him into the well, Yaqub's agreement to let Yusuf go with them, and Satan's sway over his brothers' hearts, you'll see it all paved the way for Yusuf to reach the beginning of his story chronicled in the Quran and passed down through history. The very Yusuf who was sold as a slave for a paltry price would soon govern Egypt's treasures. Here's a lesson for you. Don't panic when faced with challenges, and don't lose hope when doors seem to close before you. Don't be alarmed when a trap is laid for you and you fall into it. Don't be shaken when plans are devised against you, when plots are made, or when pits are dug to harm you. Allah says in Surat An-Naml, and they planned a plan, and we planned a plan, while they perceived not. Then see how was the end of their plan, that we destroyed them and their people, all of them, no matter how much scheming or plotting occurs. Stay close to Allah, the one who can protect you from harm and turn their plots against them. While they focus on harming you, unaware that Allah is ever watchful, He will ensure their plans backfire. They remain heedless, but Allah is never inattentive. When Yusuf was sold into slavery and bought by Al-Aziz, the chief minister of Egypt, Al-Aziz developed a deep affection for him, almost treating him like a son. Some accounts suggest Al-Aziz couldn't have children of his own. He instructed his wife, "Take care of him. Maybe he will benefit us, or we will adopt him as a son." Suddenly, the boy, who was despised by his brothers to the point that they plotted to kill him, who was thrown naked into a desert well and sold for a few silver coins at the slave market, found himself in the care of Egypt's chief minister. Yusuf went from living in a tent, from being hated by his brothers, to being cherished by the country's most powerful official. His life shifted dramatically from poverty to luxury, with servants at his command and feasts before him. This all sounds great, doesn't it? But I would say, not entirely. Here's why. At the time Yusuf entered Al-Aziz's household as a child, Al-Aziz's wife was still a young woman in her early 20s. Initially, she viewed Yusuf as a child. However, as Yusuf grew older and transformed into a man, her perspective began to change. Adding to this, her husband's infertility left her unfulfilled. The same devil who had whispered to Yusuf's brothers now turned his attention to her, and this time, his task was even easier. Yusuf was remarkably handsome, a beauty like no other. With time, his manly features became more pronounced, and she found herself alone in the palace most days, with her husband occupied elsewhere. The conditions were ripe for temptation, and soon Al-Aziz's wife began plotting to seduce Yusuf. She started subtly, but Yusuf didn't respond. She escalated her hints to overt declarations, but Yusuf remained steadfast, devoted to Allah, while she was drawn to sin. One day, she locked all the doors, dismissed the servants, and confronted Yusuf directly, declaring her love, and she, in whose house he was, sought to seduce him. She closed the doors and said, "Come to me." Yusuf firmly refused. "I seek refuge in Allah. Indeed, my Lord has given me a good place. Indeed, wrongdoers will not succeed." What did she do next? Did she fear Allah and stop? Unfortunately, no. Controlled by Satan, she persisted. When Yusuf resisted her advances, she moved closer to him. The Quran describes it, and she certainly determined to seduce him. And he would have inclined to her had he not seen the proof of his Lord. Yusuf, though tempted, restrained himself at the last moment. While his natural human emotions stirred, his strong faith in Allah overpowered these fleeting thoughts. Allah's mercy embraced him, strengthening his resolve against his weaker instincts. Why did Allah intervene? Because Yusuf struggled to suppress his desires out of fear of Allah. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, highlighted Allah's closeness in a hadith. "I am as my servant thinks of me. I am with him when he remembers me." Yusuf's heartfelt devotion and reliance on Allah during his trials drew Allah closer to him, rescuing him from his plight. As Yusuf fled from Al-Aziz's wife, racing to the door, they were both shocked to find Al-Aziz standing there. Upon seeing Yusuf's torn shirt and exposed chest, Al-Aziz demanded an explanation. Before Yusuf could defend himself, Al-Aziz's wife accused him of attempting to assault her, even calling for his punishment, imprisonment or physical punishment. However, Al-Aziz sought a more measured approach, summoning a wise man known for his fairness. This man suggested examining Yusuf's shirt. If torn from the front, it would prove Yusuf had attacked her. If torn from the back, it would show he had been fleeing her. Yusuf's shirt was indeed torn from the back, vindicating him. Al-Aziz, however, opted for discretion, fearing a scandal. He instructed Yusuf to forget the incident and advised his wife to seek forgiveness. Unfortunately, Al-Aziz's leniency emboldened his wife to repeat her behavior. The scandal had spread to the other palaces, particularly after the servants learned that the ruling class women had also tried to seduce Yusuf. The husbands of these women pressured Al-Aziz, urging him to get rid of Yusuf, deal with Yusuf, the one who has caused all these scandals, and remove him. With no other option, Al-Aziz sent Yusuf to prison. Here, Allah's rebuke of Yusuf becomes significant. Some interpretations suggest that Allah revealed to Yusuf, "You imprisoned yourself when you said prison is more beloved to me. Had you prayed and said, ease and relief are more beloved to me, it would have been better. Why did you invoke imprisonment upon yourself?" There's a profound lesson here for all of us. When faced with life's challenges, many people begin to curse themselves or even their loved ones. They say things like, "May Allah take me and bring me relief," or "May Allah take you and relieve us." Why not instead say, "May Allah rectify my situation," or "May Allah guide you"? It's the same number of words, but the direction of the prayer changes entirely from harm to self or others to seeking improvement and blessings. Yusuf entered the prison, and there met to other prisoners. The Quran mentions, "And there entered the prison with him 2 young men. One of them said, 'Indeed, I have seen myself in a dream pressing wine.' And the other said, 'Indeed, I have seen myself carrying bread on my head, of which birds were eating. Inform us of its interpretation. Indeed, we see you as a doer of good.' The 2 young men, one a royal cook and the other the king's cupbearer, who served him water and wine, had been accused of trying to poison the king. Note that they were still suspects, not convicted criminals. Both men found comfort in Yusuf, approaching him for his insight. The cook said, "I dreamt I was carrying bread on my head, and birds were eating from it." The cupbearer said, "I dreamt I was pressing wine. Please interpret these dreams for us, for we are frightened of the king's wrath." Here, Yusuf's brilliance in dream interpretation shines. Once reliant on his father, Prophet Yusuf, to interpret his dream of the sun, moon, and stars bowing to him, Yusuf had now become the interpreter himself. Dream interpretation in ancient Egypt was a vast and respected field, not easily mastered. Allah, in his wisdom, granted Yusuf this unique ability to distinguish him, as it would later serve as the key to unlocking his freedom and destiny. Yusuf interpreted their dreams, explaining that one of them would return to his position serving wine to the king, while the other would be executed, leaving his body for the birds to eat. Notice, Yusuf intentionally withheld which one would live and which would die, sparing the condemned man unnecessary distress. Each man would understand his fate in due time. After interpreting their dreams, Yusuf privately spoke to the cupbearer, the one destined to be released. He requested a favor: "Mention me before your master." In the next video, we will explore the next phase of Prophet Yusuf's life. Please like and subscribe to support our efforts.